Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mr. Hicks podcast. We are here getting it in once again, time and time again. I could say one of the great things about doing a podcast is you get to see it over time as you watch the videos how fat my own face has gotten. I am doing a diet after this. Holy smokes. But, that front-facing camera, it really leaves a lot to be desired. And, I'm not liking the results I'm seeing. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Bronny James and LeBron James and the situation where LeBron James' son, Bronny, just got dropped off of the ESPN NBA mock draft for 2024. It's a 2-round mock, meaning that the gentlemen at ESPN don't even think LeBron James' son is good enough to get drafted in the second round. And my response to that would be, what took you so long? He was not that dude. He has never been that dude. At no point did I even think he was the best basketball player on his own high school team. I mean, it was either San Bernardino or San Clemente or something like that in California. And they always had a stacked roster, of course. It was full of the sons of former NBA players. And Bronny was never really that. He's not a bad player. He's just not a great player. And you have to be a great player even to be a decent college prospect, much less an NBA prospect. And he never really was. So he's plays for USC, okay? USC is at the bottom of the Pac-12, and he's not a starter, and he has 5 points and about 3 rebounds a game. So for a bad college team, he's not lighting it up, and that's not a good look. I personally don't think that he ever really had a heart problem. Now, I know people are like, hey, that's kind of messed up. But this is something I think I've seen in athletes, and I think you're going to see it more when athletes are looking to duck out and looking to have an excuse for not doing something. Because of HIPAA laws, you can't actually confirm whether somebody had an injury. You can't really confirm if somebody had surgery. So you can just say, hey, the guy had a blase skippy and he needed surgery. And what's his name that plays for the Sixers and then went to the Nets? He just came out of the hospital and showed a wristband out of the car, was like, yeah, see everybody, I'm doing great. And it just kind of buys him time. And I think in Bronny James' case, it was go to college, take an extra year, try to develop. It really hasn't happened. And I could be wrong about that. I'm probably overstepping my bounds. But according to, like I said, because of HIPAA laws, you can't confirm that. So if they want to stick to that story, there's nothing any of us can do but say that, yeah, I guess it's true. But, real quick, I wanted to mention the fact that this is actually normal. You're like, oh, how he's got all that great stuff going. His dad's rich, has all the best trainers and all the best, hangs around NBA players all the time and all the best facilities. How could he not be great? And my answer to that is most of them aren't. Most of them aren't. The sons of great players do not go on to be great players the vast majority of the time. I'll give you an example. I'll actually give you a lot of examples. Joe Montana's son played quarterback. One of the greatest quarterback, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. He went to Notre Dame, got a scholarship to play quarterback at Notre Dame, and never started a game. Never cracked starting lineup. And he transferred to Montana, oddly enough. And that was the last we've heard of him. So, let's see, who else do I have on this list? Shaq. Shaq has 6 kids, okay? He has 2 of them are sons. One of them, I believe, was Sharif, played for UCLA for a while. And then he had an actual medical problem. And we never heard from him again. He has 2 other sons and I think 3 daughters. His daughter is actually a basketball All-American, so good for her. Looks like his daughter might actually be a decent player. So also we have a couple of them off my head. Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest player of all time. He had his son Marcus Jordan, who played basketball. He had an inauspicious career at UCF, and he also disappeared. Jerry Rice, one of maybe the greatest wide receiver of all time. His son is in the draft this year. Hear anything about him? You got Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, there's your exception right there. Marvin Harrison Jr. is a the son of Marvin Harrison, who was a Hall of Fame and NFL wide receiver. Oddly enough, he's bigger than his father ever was, faster than his father ever was, and he's an absolute monster. Now, for me personally, I would not be surprised if he ended up not being the best wide receiver in his class. This is a stacked wide receiver class. So you have your exception. But my point is, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the exception, not the rule. The players that end up of sons who end up being actually really good NBA players are the sons of role players. So if you look at Klay Thompson and Curry, like their dads were in the NBA, but Steph Curry's dad was Del Curry. He was never a great player. He was known for being a great 3-point shooter, but he was never like an amazing player. He was a specialist, a 3-and-D specialist. And then his partner, his dad, I didn't even realize that his dad was in the NBA until somebody told me. So Klay Thompson, yeah, his dad was in the NBA, but he was not a star. He was definitely another journeyman. Kobe Bryant, another good example. Kobe Bryant's dad was in the NBA. Not only was he in the NBA, he was I believe he was on the Chicago Bulls very early on in Michael Jordan's career, and then he went over to play overseas. So Kobe was the son of an NBA player, but not a great NBA player. Now, while I do think that it's not Bronny's fault for not being a great player, I do think that LeBron has not made the situation any better. He honestly has talked up his son and his son's ability, and the fact that I dream of playing in the NBA with my son and all that. Started that very years ago, as if his son, that was gonna like make his son work harder to be a better player. Also, not too long ago, he tweeted out that I think my son could play on this team right now. He's talking about the Lakers. And I'm like, bro, he's not even the best player on USC. That's really wild. And then after he got dropped off the list for ESPN, he goes online and he goes, hey, the kid's only 21. Can you just let him be a kid? I'm like, no, man, you did this. You did this. You brought him to the forefront and saying all this stuff about how you thought he was good enough to play for the Lakers right now, and had the nerve to come by like, oh, come on, guys, stop killing him. Like, no, you brought this on yourself. And as far as the players not being really good, I remember specifically, I don't know if you remember, it was a player that was Steffi Graf and another really good American tennis player whose name escapes me at the moment. Anyway, they asked him, you guys are both Hall of Fame tennis players. Why aren't your kids great tennis players? He said they have affluenza. That's where that term comes from. You're too affluent to be great. You don't need to be great when you've got money. You don't need to be a great athlete. You don't need to practice extra. You don't need to be up at 5 a.m. You don't need to be like shooting jump shots at 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, or running in the rain or whatever. You don't need to do that. You grew up rich. You're probably always going to be rich. So you don't need to be great. You don't need to do the extra grinding that it takes to be an amazing athlete. So while, I feel like he didn't really make that, LeBron James did not make the situation any better for his son, I do feel like it's pretty normal that his son isn't a great player. Now, I do want to say this, having experience with a great athlete, my son plays for Kent State. Every father is delusional about his son's abilities. The second my son was beating kids in races, he showed he was stronger, he showed he was faster than all his other players he was playing with, I'm thinking, oh, he's going to play in college. He's going to play in the NFL. And as he gets older, that pressure, maybe that makes him focus, maybe it makes him fold, but luckily I had a kid that kind of responded well to it, but I've also seen kids that did not respond well to it. That the pressure was just more than they can handle. And sometimes the dad wants it more than the kid does. And that's kind of a sad situation where it's like, I had to play because my dad wanted me to play. Bonded with my dad doing it. And you got one dad who's, yes. Is he delusional about his son's ability? Yes. Every father is delusional about his son's ability. The only difference is LeBron James has millions of dollars and millions of followers on social media to do it with. Most of us don't have that. So all of us, not most of us, all of us have to think about whether we're doing the right thing for our sons. And that's not just athletes, that's everybody. Am I doing enough? Should I try to put him in private school? Should I drive him here? Should I spend the money to send him to the camp? Should I try to get him into a different high school? Do I take him to a different trainer? Should we play 7-on-7? Should we go on this AAU team? Like, we all have to live with maybe we're making the right decision to push him. Maybe I should have pushed him more. Maybe I'm making the wrong decision by pushing on him too much or letting off of him. That's hard, okay? And for you guys that are just fans, lay off him, man. Lay off the kid and lay off LeBron. Because it's LeBron's first time being a dad of an athlete like this. It's his first time as a kid having to go, growing up under all this pressure. LeBron not being withstanding it. LeBron messed up with this. But let the kid be a kid. Take it easy. It's my time.